Okay, welcome everybody. We are going to get started in a few minutes. We just want to wait and give everyone a chance to arrive, get settled in, and we'll begin our presentation on dual enrollment. I'm Gretchen Sartori, and I'm a counselor at Plymouth High School. Barb Lehman, who is a Canton counselor, is going to be joining me tonight as well to present information. And then we also have two other counselors, Mark Hausen from Salem High School and Sarah Budziak from Canton High School, who are also going to be here to monitor. They will be actually watching the YouTube chat. So if you have questions as we're presenting, you're going to be able to put your questions in the YouTube chat. At the end of the presentation, we're going to go back and we will make sure that we get your questions answered. So again, we are going to present in just about a minute. We're just going to give people a chance to kind of settle in. And then we are going to be talking tonight about the dual enrollment process and how that works at the park. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started since I know that you are here ready to learn some more about dual enrollment. We have been obviously dual enrolling students for several years now at the park. We have worked to make the information as streamlined as we could for you, and that's what we did tonight. Is that we wanted to really put together a slideshow presentation that will really also act as just kind of like your instruction spreadsheet to go through as you're wanting to learn more information about dual enrollment. So, dual enrollment is a way for students to earn college credit while they are in high school. That is what it is in a nutshell. We at the bottom of this first screen here have just listed for you the dates for you to pay attention to for this school year because we are getting ready to dual enroll students, and I've already begun that process for students to dual enroll for second semester, and that deadline for students to do that will be the Friday before Thanksgiving. And that deadline means that all the paperwork must be completed the Friday before Thanksgiving, not that you can initiate the process on that Friday before Thanksgiving. And then the due date for enrolling for the fall 2025 semester would be the Friday before Memorial Day. And again, those deadlines act as the paperwork needs to be completed by those deadlines. So the first thing we want to talk about is why is it that students dual enroll? So originally, I think this was the main reason is that students dual enrolled because they had already maxed out in one of the highest levels of learning for whatever content area they might have been in. And so we put an example of the fact that some students take AP Calc BC during their junior year. And so there is no math higher at the park than AP Calc BC. They might have enrolled their senior year in something like differential equations and Calc 3. And then it kind of became more that students really wanted to just gain experience, whether or not they had maxed out in any kind of a curriculum level at the park. And so the point is they just want to gain experience in a college level course and be able to earn college credit that they could eventually then transfer to another college or university. We do like to note with this that ultimately it is the college or university that determines what for sure credit will transfer. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then also we have had an increasing number of students who are looking to go into a specific career pathway or something within the trades. And again, schools like Schoolcraft and Washtenaw have excellent programs in these areas. And so they might already begin taking a class, let's say in welding at Schoolcraft, to really like get their first class done in that to really see if they like it for sure, so that they know whether or not they want to continue with that after they graduate. So those are the main reasons why students are dual enrolling. We want to talk about the fact that dual enrollment, it really is something to think about, like if it's a good fit for your student, for you or your student. So coming across the screen are really some of the things that we know, the skills that really lead to students being successful in dual enrollment. Because again, we want to reiterate, you're taking a college level class. You are in the class with 18-year-olds way up through adulthood, because there are so many adults that are coming back to continue their education. And so knowing first that you're successful in all of your classes at the park is a huge, I think, key skill for us. We are looking to make sure that students are already passing their classes at the park. And then we recognize in students, and you should be looking for these skills in your students: good time management, that they're able to organize, that they can manage their time and know how to prioritize assignments for both things that are going on at P-CEP as well as their college level classes. They need to be self-motivated and actively participate, whether it's an online class that is asynchronous. They need to know how to reach out to the professor and get extra help when needed. Or if they are attending class in person, they want to be really actively participating in that and then using resources that are on that campus. So again, in order to be successful in dual enrollment, these are some of the skills that you want to know your student already possesses, so that they can be successful. So let's get into actually, like, what is the process? On this page, we have step one. And before we even jump into that, I wanted to make sure that you're aware there's two links that we have here. One is the dual enrollment process, which again, this has been in all of our Canvas pages and accessible online. It is a lengthy document, and we felt that this was a little much. And that's why we wanted to kind of put together this slideshow so that you could see the steps broken down a little bit more clearly. What I really like too is that we really tried to make for you a dual enrollment checklist. And I like this because who doesn't love a good checklist, right? You can kind of go through and make sure that you're moving through each step one at a time. And we're going to talk through these steps in more detail. But this is a nice, handy checklist. I would print that off as you're getting ready to really consider going through this. So step one is that you and your student's counselor is going to check to make sure that you are eligible to dual enroll. If you are taking an English class, we are going to make sure that you've met the prerequisite scores here for reading. If you are taking a math class, then you have to meet the prerequisite scores for math. We strongly recommend that you also meet these reading scores if you're taking a social studies class, and have these same kind of math scores if you're moving into a science course. Although they aren't required, we do recommend it because, again, you are taking a college level class. We want students to be prepared and successful for that, because we'll talk about what happens if you're not successful in the class. So that is step one, is you're checking your eligibility. And then you're getting ready to really think about what classes you're taking. So let's talk about what criteria you're looking for. First is that you're only planning dual enrollment for one semester at a time. So really, even on the college's websites, although you have access to their course catalogs, you're really only looking at the availability of classes for a semester at a time. So that is our first bullet point that we want to make sure, is that you know you're really only looking for academic classes or classes that are applicable to career preparation, and you're looking for the upcoming semester. Classes do have to be 3 or more credits. So that is a rule that we are making sure that students are following, is that the classes that they're choosing are a minimum of 3 credits. You can choose whether that class is in person or online. If you are choosing an in-person class, it obviously cannot interfere with the school day at P-CEP or any extracurriculars that you might be involved in. For each class that you are dual enrolled in, you have one less class at the park. So if you are dual enrolled in one class, you would have 5 classes at the park. If you're dual enrolling in 2 classes, you would have 4 classes at the park. Ideally, preference is for the dual enrollment, and this is what most students prefer as well, is for it to be first or 6th hour. You're avoiding traffic, or you're getting to kind of sleep in a little bit, catch up on sleep. Sometimes, again, if students are dual enrolled in 2 classes, we'll do it 5th and 6th hour. You can also do it 1st and 2nd hour. But the idea is that it's sandwiched at the front or the beginning or end of your school day. Occasionally, we do need to put it in the middle of the day, and it might be because there are specific classes at the park that your student is just not able to, like, schedule around those. So we try to work with students as best we can, but again, we can do it in the middle of the day if needed. Classes that are chosen have to begin the first week of the college's semester. And this is a new rule that we're enforcing pretty strictly this year. And so if we're primarily going to be talking about Schoolcraft and Washtenaw as far as dates go. Schoolcraft's semester starts January 6th. And so you are choosing a class that has to begin that week. If it's at Washtenaw, it has to begin the week of January 13th. We strongly recommend that the classes you're looking at are 15-week classes. And I want you to understand that that is not even the length really of our entire semester. And so if you think about taking a 12-week class, those college professors are putting quite a bit of content into 12 weeks, and your student is doing that at the same time that they're taking our classes. So those 12-week classes can be pretty intense. And so if you are needing to choose a 12-week class, the rule is that it still has to begin that first week of the semester. You can't take a 12-week class that starts any later than that. So again, best practices, you're choosing from the 15-week course selections. And then what we really talk about is if students are just taking that dual enrollment class because they want to be able to transfer something to a four-year college, then ideally you are using the Michigan Transfer Agreement to help you select those classes. And again, we always like to make that caveat that colleges and universities are really the ones that are ultimately deciding how many credits and what credits will transfer. So let's talk a little bit more about the Michigan Transfer Agreement. So the Michigan Transfer Agreement is an agreement between the community colleges in Michigan, so they're all listed here on this website, and the public universities, and then many of the private or independent colleges and universities. And what they are saying is that if you complete these 30 credits in these areas that are very specifically outlined for you, then you are generally completing the gen ed requirements that would ultimately be asked of you to complete once you transfer to a public or private college in the state of Michigan. So the Michigan Transfer Agreement lists them out pretty generally. And so what we wanted to do is help you by providing you with these links so that if you are looking at Schoolcraft, what's great is you can go right to this link here, and it will specifically, again, remind you of what those same areas are that we just talked about with the MTA, but it really now specifically gives you subjects that will fulfill that. So for example, it says you need 4 to 8 credits as part of the Michigan Transfer Agreement out of the humanities category. And Schoolcraft is outlining for you all of the classes that would count within the humanities category. And it does that for each category that they are asking for the MTA to be completed in. It's outlining some classes at Schoolcraft. So it's really great that you can look for that. I'm going to show you the same thing for Washtenaw. So when you are visiting the Washtenaw, oh, the screen isn't changing. Let's see if I can do that. Thank you. I'm getting a text message here. So if you were not seeing this before, this is now going to the Washtenaw website. Hopefully that is showing you that. If Barb, were you able to at least say if that's showing now? Yes, it is showing. Okay. So I'll go back and I'll show you the Schoolcraft one. But what we're doing is we are making sure that you are aware that both Washtenaw and Schoolcraft are outlining for you the specific courses that would fulfill the MTA in each of the different categories. So it really it leaves a lot of the guessing game out for you, right? And so I'm going to go back again to, let's see, our Schoolcraft one. And let's see, hopefully you're sharing now. You're seeing the Schoolcraft. So again, Schoolcraft is outlining for you the specific classes that they would use to fulfill the MTA. When you are then looking at those MTA agreements specific to the school, let's stick with Schoolcraft for a minute. And so if you're looking at that and you knew you wanted to take, let's see, we'll go back. You knew from Schoolcraft that you wanted to look for Humanities 106 or 151. So then from our presentation, if you clicked on the Schoolcraft College course schedule, and we should be pulling that up here. So if we go down to Humanities and then click for Winter 2025, then you're able to look at what some of those classes might be. Okay, so you're going to look here. And again, you're seeing that here are the 15-week schedules. And then you're able to look if any of those humanities classes were available in that area that you're looking at. Okay, you can kind of scroll through there. Again, you're going to skip by anything that says a 7-week class or anything that's beginning late. That's not an option for you. You're looking at classes that are beginning that first week. And so from there, again, you're using this to look at the location. If it says ONL, that's an online course. If it is listing, as an example, a code like this, MC means main campus. And so you'd be looking at a location for where that is on campus. So you can do the same thing again for Washtenaws. You can click on the course schedule for Washtenaw. Again, you would say that you're choosing winter 2025. And then again, you can look in here. So you could look at the humanities courses. And again, you're looking for classes that are going to begin that first week. So this is really an important tool for you to use in terms of looking at the Michigan transfer agreement and then finding specific classes that would work for you in terms of what your interest is, what you think will transfer, and just what you have, a desire to pursue. One of the things that I do want to point out to you as well, because ultimately, like this, the last line here says that you can always check the college or university website you intend to enroll in to see if the classes will transfer. So just as an example, I'm going to show you, if you thought that you would transfer to Michigan State, and you can see I've probably been here. So I'm going to type in something like Michigan State transfer equivalency. You can do that for Central. You can do it for any school. What you can do when you go there is you can then specifically look at, for example, Schoolcraft. So we'll scroll down to Schoolcraft. And then let's say that we wanted to look at a humanities class. So we'll scroll down to the HUM. And then we can put the specific number in of the course, or we can just see what they would accept. And then that will help you understand, again, what Schoolcraft course is and what it comes in or transfers in as at Michigan State. So that's why there's work to be done on your end to just verify in anticipation that the classes would transfer. And again, you may not know ultimately what school you want to transfer to, but that's a great place to kind of begin that. Okay, so we're going to go back to the presentation here. Once you have picked your class, this is the big bullet point here at the end that came down, is that you have to then connect with your counselor to see if it will be approved. We would love to meet with you in person to talk it through and to give you advice about that. If you're somebody who's already dual enrolled, often it's a matter of usually the student emailing us and saying, these are the classes I'd like to consider taking. And we can do that via email. But first time dual enrollment, we definitely want to be talking with you about the classes that you're taking, and you have to get approval. Whether you're a first time or multiple time dual enroller, you have to get approval first from your counselor for those classes. Once we say, yep, I think those are a great choice for you, and you can begin to dual enroll, then your next step is to apply to the community college. So within here, it says share your screen again. So let me start. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going back to the slideshow here. So I think hopefully we're all good here. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to actually apply to the community college of your choice. So we have links here. This would take you directly to, if you clicked on that link, it'll take you directly to the place where you start applying for Schoolcraft. If you click here, it'll take you right to the Washtenaw Community College website, right to their application. One of the things that we wanted to point out is you don't have to dual enroll at Schoolcraft or Washtenaw. But what we want you to understand as a family is that the amount that we receive for students to dual enroll, the amount of money that we're receiving from the state, it covers a 3-credit course at Schoolcraft or Washtenaw. There might even be money left over for you to get your book there. But if you were to, let's say, dual enroll at U of M Dearborn, the amount that we are provided does not cover fully that amount of tuition. And so your family would be responsible for a portion of that tuition. So while you are now working through applying to that community college, the next step is you're doing that. And then you're also sending your transcript through Parchment. Now, Parchment is an online service. Again, the link to your Parchment website is going to be right in this box here. You can click on that. And if you, looks like I just clicked on that accidentally. I'm going to go back to the presentation. Hopefully that went right back there. Parchment is the website that we use. And if you are a senior, if you're a junior, we would help you create those in your junior conference in the spring. But if you are younger than that right now and you don't have a Parchment account yet, you can go ahead and create a Parchment account. And you just have to link yourself to Plymouth High School when you're creating that Parchment account. And then you would send your current transcript to the college, because that is required of the colleges to see your transcript. At the time that you are applying and you are sending your transcript, that's when we are going to start initiating the electronic paperwork to your family. And so we are going to send the paperwork to one parent address out of My Star Parent Portal. We'll pull the primary parent that's usually listed. The parent will then look for the email to come from a web address called Informed K-12. And then you will help your parent complete that form. And usually when the student is with us, we're kind of showing them the form so that they can help you when they get home, make sure that you get that form filled out correctly. Because you have to put in exactly the course that you received approval from your counselor for. So you can't talk about one class with us and then another class gets put in there. So you can only put in the one course or the two courses that you're going to dual enroll in that you've received approval for. And then that electronic paperwork comes back to the counselor. We review it one more time after you've filled everything out. We check to make sure it's been filled out correctly. And then we route it through the rest of the chain of command. And ultimately, once it's approved by building principals and our pupil accounting department, then the student will receive an email from Mrs. Badia Alcadre, and it'll say, great, you've been approved. You're ready to go ahead and enroll in the class. One of the things that we really want you to know about enrolling is that as soon as you get that email, you should begin to register for the class. We do know that with community college being free in the state of Michigan, there is an increase in the number of people who are attending community college. And so those classes can be filling up. So don't wait until the deadline. Start registering as soon as you make it through that process and get the approval. And Schoolcraft and Washtenaw, they are very aware of our process. So they don't like to see you trying to enroll any sooner. They know to look for students who are dual enrolled and make sure that you're waiting for the approval letter to go through, that you've been approved for that. So those are the 6 main steps. And now what Mrs. Lehman is going to do is going to kind of talk to you about how you keep moving forward through that registration process with the school. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to her.
Okay, so let's continue. Where are we at here? We know that this is a lot of information. We really felt it was important for us to be able to share this so that you had access to this to be able to go back over it and review it. So things we want you to know about when you're applying and registering for the colleges. You do need to apply at the college. You need, whether it's U of M Dearborn or Schoolcraft, but once you have applied, you are in their system. You'll receive an email from them, a new email address. So you'll have a Schoolcraft email or an Eastern Michigan University email. That email is what you're going to be checking for anything in correspondence with your professors, with the class, with registration. So it is really important that that needs to be something your student is doing on a regular basis, is checking to know what's happening with the college and following along with their assignments and so forth. There may be some additional things that you need to do. Attend an orientation. They'll connect you with an advisor if you have that opportunity, and I encourage you to do that. It gives you another opportunity to ask some questions, get some ideas of maybe what this class could lead to or where you would go from there. But again, you can't, you're not able to register for those classes until you get that email from Mrs. Ocoldre. That email is what's going to go to you as a student, and it's going to say, you have been approved. Please register for your classes. Any questions you have about registering for classes or the specifics of the course, we encourage you to reach out to the college. So as we started, you're applying to that college. You're going to be accepted to the college as a dual enrollment student. And through your email and correspondence with the college, you can ask questions and formalize a plan, whether it's for one semester or again in the fall. But we want to make sure that you're signing up for the class that you've had a conversation with your counselor about. We make sure that, again, those test scores are there, that you're really prepared for this opportunity to take an initiative and try something new. And it is important. We know that kids can be put onto a wait list, but we really discourage that because many times it does not work out. We want to make sure that as soon as you start the form and the process, that is, as once you've received that email, that you can go ahead and register, We want you to get back to that college, register for your class, and get signed up. We know it's a little bit of ahead of time. Sometimes you don't realize that you need to do this so much for in the future, but it is important to make sure that you get on that list because, again, any student that's taking a class at Schoolcraft College will also be registering for courses. So the final step 7 is to just make sure that you've dual enrolled at the Schoolcraft or Washtenaw or the school of your choice. That's an important aspect of that. You will access this information in your college portal. You're going to send finalization that you have registered for the course. It has to have your name, the class on it, and the number of credits and along with the cost. So you're not just taking a screenshot of that. We can't accept that. It has to be a PDF. So you're going to go on your school's portal, take a PDF or download a PDF and email that to Mrs. Okoldre to make sure that she knows you've registered for the course. That tells us that we can then send payment to the college or university. So it is an important thing to do. But again, it's going to be on your account. So you're going to want to use that as your go-to. Okay, now the make sure you know stuff. So Mrs. Sartori did talk about this before. You have an allotment of money. It does change every year. It's based on what the per pupil funding is from the state. Most 3-credit courses at a community college are covered. There usually is money left over if you're required to purchase a book. You do need to purchase that book from the school bookstore. But if you've chosen a 4-credit or a class that might have a lab or additional supplies, that will be the responsibility of you. So that is why that form actually goes to your parents, because we need to make sure parents that you know that as your student is taking this course, you may have an additional funding or money that you have to pay to keep them in that course. If you withdraw from a class, if for some reason something changes or it's the decision you can't take the class, for whatever the reason is, please make sure that you don't replace the course. You reach out to your counselor as soon as possible. Let us know. We require that you get a hold of us. We want this before school starts as much as possible, but make sure you talk to us before you withdraw. There might be some questions that we can answer. We can also get you connected with an advisor, as I said, at the community college. That will give you to make sure that you're making the right decision. But we do want to make sure that you follow through this in a timely manner. We don't want you to delay it and then have additional costs with that. If you were to withdraw from the course after the deadline where there's not a full refund, it will be the responsibility of the student and parents to pay that. Unfortunately, there are some situations we've seen, and this is why we talk about what kind of habits we want to see with a kid. A student that has been doing well at the park is ready for dual enrollment, because if you do fail a course, you will have to pay that cost. And the expectation is you're not eligible to do dual enrollment in the future, because we're concerned about that. We want to make sure we're setting you up for success. So a lot of this talks about that, but we want to make sure you're ready for it. So as we talked about textbooks just briefly, it's really important to pay attention to this, because if there are textbooks that you're required to purchase, you do need to do that. You do need to purchase those textbooks if you want reimbursement through the school bookstore. You can't buy them through Amazon or any other sites if you want that reimbursement. So it is important to check out the school bookstore. You might have to go on campus for that. There are some online options as well, but that may have a shipping cost with you. So check that out, make sure that it's the best cost possible. And once you do, if you purchase a book for your class that you need to have and have the receipt from the school bookstore, you're going to send that school receipt to Mrs. Okoldre, and they'll work on getting you that reimbursement. So first of all, dual enrollment paperwork must be completed by the Friday before Thanksgiving, meaning that you have met with your counselor. We have talked about the classes you're looking to take. We have sent that form to your parents. You've filled it out, and it is now back in our hands. That's the goal of that 22nd. From there, we take that process through the rest of the steps. But again, the later you wait, it's the likelihood that course may fill up. So the sooner you do this job, the better you are. And I know that means everybody's signing up for appointments with all of us. We look forward to seeing you guys. But do make sure that you get in to see us and talk about what classes you're thinking about. As we look to the future, and we'll remind you of this when we do course selection for the 25-26 school year, any dual enrollment for the fall of 2025 has to be completed by that Friday before Memorial Day. Now, this is way ahead of normal situations because a lot of the times you're not and may wait till the fall to register for classes. Well, that doesn't work within a school that has the summer break and moving into a community college. So we want to make sure that you have that information. And again, the same rules apply. We need to have that completed. And you can't make any changes before those deadlines come through. Whoops, there we go. For those students that are not taking classes through Schoolcraft or Washtenaw, you do need to make sure that you've done that proof of enrollment. So if we've signed up and we've got you all set, November 22nd, the form went through, you've been approved, you signed up for your course. By December 20th, you need to send proof that you have signed up and registered for the course. Once we have that proof, that's when we as your counselor can go in and change the schedule for you and make sure that dual enrollment is in the course. You'll see on MyStar that it will state dual enrollment holding. At first, once we have the exact name of your course, that will take our schedule, master scheduler will go in and actually put in dual enrollment Calc 3. They'll actually put the actual title that's there. That's also good for you to know that as you send your transcript to colleges and universities, they will see you took a dual enrollment course and what the title of that course is. There's no course changes that can be made without approval from your counselor before that have to be completed by that deadline. Now, there is a dual enrollment checklist here. I'm going to leave it and not go back and forth between them, but I really encourage you to click on that, print it out, have it in front of you as you start to make some of these decisions and walk together with it, the steps with your parents and making sure that you're hitting all the important parts. So we've now had an opportunity to fill you in on a lot of information. It's really an important part of that. We want to make sure that you have this information and we want you to feel free to go back and see if there's anything that we may have missed or you may have missed in the process. Rewatch this video. This presentation will be available on our YouTube channel through the district, and it will also be an opportunity for you to kind of go step by step. We will also make sure that we share this presentation so you have access to all of the links and making sure that that's a possibility that if you have some questions there. Now, if there are questions, you're welcome to go ahead and submit those in the chat. I know there's some that may be coming through on the YouTube channel. It's really important to have that conversation with your student if this is really the right and the best next step. There is a difference between AP and courses. So we want to make sure that it's not a replacement for each other, but they are very different experiences. And it really gives kids another opportunity. And we want to give those opportunities for our kids. So if the university or college in question has a fall 1 and fall 2 setup for 8-week courses, can students take both of those courses? We're not allowing an 8-week course. You have to have a class that is a 15-week or a 12-week, where in which that 12-week starts within the first week of the college semester. So Schoolcraft starts on September 6th, I believe, in Washtenaw, or excuse me, January 6th, and Washtenaw begins on January 13th. So you would need to find a course that begins at that time. You can only do a 3-credit or higher dual enrollment course in one semester class. You can't do a half and a half. It has to be that 12-week minimum. Any other questions that are out there from anyone? So the presentation, as I said, we'll make sure that this presentation is available on the Canvas page for our students to access in their class accounts. Also, we'll put it on the class page on our school's website, so you can access not only the recording of the video, but also the slide presentations, because we definitely want you to have access to all the links that are included, from the checkoff sheet to the links to getting you to the college applications themselves, and the list of courses and the Michigan transfer agreements. Those will be important. So as far as a recommended grade to start this, a 9th grader, it would be difficult to do just because they aren't in the high school, but there are some kids that have that initiative. Again, as Mrs. Sartori started the presentation, majority of the kids started dual enrollment because they had exhausted our curriculum. So there are some students that are looking to continue that education and learning. A student that is at a French 4 or French AP French, by the time they are or speaking fluid French, they may want to continue and go into the college and take something, and they could be as young as a 10th grader. I think the most important thing is as you look at the option, you really want to think about if this is the right fit for your student, and if they have that initiative and motivation, self-motivation, they feel comfortable reaching out to a professor and working in a system where there are students that are older and could be much older than them. So it really comes down to a personal preference, and every kid is a little bit different if it would be the best fit for them. So I encourage them to meet with their counselor, have that conversation, in looking how they are as a student at the high school and middle school, so we make the best fit for a successful option for your student. So for a student, as far as the scoring goes, the Michigan Department of Education determines it. You'll see that when you look at that link, it is actually of last year's scores, just because scores have not been fully reported yet. But those scores are something you have to look at. If you're taking an English class, we are only looking at the reading score, and a math class, we're looking at the math score. But as we recommended, students that are taking a course in social science, social studies, we'd encourage them to have a passing English score. Just we know that helps them to be successful in the course. We want them to be at their best level to be successful. In the same, we'd like to see a student that is passing that requirement in math to be eligible for a science course as well. So consider kind of where the skill set are. But again, there's a number of options for it. If you look on the link, Michigan Department of Education gives scores for PSAT, SAT, and ACT. Even though our school doesn't offer the ACT at school, it is something that we know some students take on their own, and it definitely is a score that we can use. Your student may have to produce that score for us if that's the only one we can use, or if that's the passing score. They're definitely more than welcome to bring in a copy of that and print that out from act.org and bring that with them if we need to use that for the approval. So as you continue to kind of think through some of the process and what you need to be doing, we hope that all these steps have given you some ideas of where to begin and to kind of go through all of them. It is important to take it step by step. There is a lot of information and a lot of things to consider at times. And then there's also the fact that you just want to try a college class. You want to try something new. Be aware that you can't take courses in physical education or hobby-based or art-based unless they have specific academic learning. There's that requirements that are in this information that we've shared, and we want to make sure that you're also following that. But that's the conversation your child's going to have with their counselor to make sure they are taking a course that is accepted, that will be approved based on their scores and based on kind of the student they are and what's the best fit for them. We will start meeting with our students and have been meeting with our students. So I encourage your student to reach out. All of us have appointments on our Canvas page where they can access it. And I know that we all have opportunities where kids can scan a QR code outside of our office to get right to their counselor's appointment schedule. Most of us also have open time during lunch, but check with your counselor to see when they're available to get that appointment in as soon as possible. Have that quick conversation and do your research before. Think about what classes you might be considering, what ones that sound interesting, that you feel you'd be successful at, and you want to give it a try. Have those conversations and then come see us. We'll know that if that approval is going to work. And right at that point, if we know that that class is a great fit for you, we'll go ahead and establish or create that online form that will go to your parent. Again, we're going to use the email, the primary contact in MyStar is what we'll use. So you'll be watching for that, and that email comes from Informed K-12. With that, I'm not seeing any other questions tonight. We hope that we've answered and given you some things to think about and give you an opportunity to, again, go back, listen again to the presentation, take it step by step, and know we're here to support you. We will talk more about this again as we move to course selection in February, as we look to the students that want to dual enroll for the fall of 2025. And keeping those deadlines in mind are really important. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. I'm appreciative of the support that we have from our staff, and know that any of the counselors are willing and happy to help you. With that, have a great night, everybody.